So one of the real benefits of teaching is that I wind up learning along with my students, mostly due to how I was taught, first of all, but second of all, it's very interesting to try to apply the concepts from their perspective and then figure out how to phrase things better as a result. For example, I was teaching one of my students last week, and he was talking about holding the guitar a certain way, right? Because he couldn't quite figure out how to play, his first bar chord, right? Which is F. I'm pretty sure everyone's first bar chord was either this or, B. And it was very interesting because, like most beginners, he couldn't get the pressure on the higher two strings and the lowest string at the same time with the bar. And we wound up figuring out a little bit that it's actually more in how the guitar sits on your leg. And this is something that was never taught to me. This is something that I don't see a lot talked about online, so I'm going to talk about it right now. This is a very important lesson for beginners especially because this will make learning certain songs a lot easier. So the way that you hold the guitar against your body is dependent on what type of music you're playing, right? Because if you're playing stuff that's very chord-eccentric, it can be pretty loose. You can move around a bit more, right? But generally speaking, you're going to have the guitar kind of rotated away from you with the main bulk of the back of the guitar up against your ribs so that your arm can rest and flow nicely with the strums and that your hand can focus more on playing the chords with better accuracy and stuff like that because of the way leverage works and the way that your hand moves around a guitar. This sticking the neck out a bit more actually makes it so that it's easier to play certain chords based on how you're applying pressure with the thumb on the back of the neck and subsequently where the rest of your fingers go. However, on the flip side, if you're playing stuff that's far more centered around your picking hand, so stuff like super fast shreddy solos or heavy metal riffs, your guitar is generally going to sit more parallel and even slightly into your chest a bit more, so that more of your energy can be focused into your picking hand, right? Because I don't play metal riffs out here. Although that's certainly one way to do it. It's actually more comfortable to kind of keep the guitar as close as you can and put more conscious energy into your picking hand. So like... And the same applies actually with super fast shreddy solos, which I obviously can't do on this thing, but there's a balance to be struck with the way that you play certain things and how that affects the way you hold the guitar. And this was never something I was taught. This is actually something that for the 9 years I've been playing guitar, I just found out with my student. And it's actually more important than I thought it was, because depending on whether you're playing acoustic like this or an electric with a thinner body, different built neck, different sounds, what kind of music you're playing, it very much depends. If you're playing chord-centric music, you have a bit more like wiggle room to do stuff like this due to how you basically do the same few strumming patterns, right? And more energy is focused on getting the chords right? If the energy is more consistent between the pick and the chords, then it winds up being this kind of balance in between. But the point of this is how to demonstrate that how you hold the guitar against your body very much helps. And this applies both to sitting and standing. You have to find what's comfortable for you depending on the song you're playing. And this is something that's especially important for beginners for this reason. And that is, I remember as a kid, when I was learning guitar, I was trying to make sure that I only played it one way and that the guitar didn't move at all, because I had recently come from piano. And piano, if anyone knows, is a very rigid instrument compared to guitar. You sit a certain way from a certain distance from the piano, your hands are placed a certain way, and you get comfortable playing that way, and if the bench is too far out or too high or too low, it drastically affects your playing because your muscle memory is actually linked with your entire body. And I actually observed this from my siblings' piano recitals last week. So there's a lot that goes into holding a guitar because depending on how you're built even, it depends on how you're going to hold the instrument. And I want to make it absolutely clear that there's no set one way to hold a guitar. Not in the same way that piano is built, right? Because your way of playing certain things is going to be different from mine, but as a general rule, there are things that you would do well to employ to at least try to get a better sense of doing certain things. Now, a very good example of doing movement with the guitar while you play is actually a song that I wrote called Outdoor Court 4 Day Theme, where it starts up here and I'm very focused on getting the chord shapes right, and then later in the song it goes to a more simple structure and I can bring the guitar back parallel with, you know, my chest and stuff to lean more into the picking hand, whereas up here I'm trying to get the chords right. So like the song kind of starts like, but then later it goes to, and you see how I've now unconsciously sort of moved the guitar kind of out here more to play the higher chords. And it's not just because they're higher, but that they require a bit of a finger stretch. I'm trying to focus on getting them right as much as I am the picking pattern, but the picking pattern is so easy for me that it's far more important to get the chords right. And granted, it's easier to play on electric because I actually wrote the song on electric, but that's not my point. My point is that you will move with the guitar in the same way that, like, to use a kind of silly analogy, that a highway road moves, falls, and rises with the ground it's built on, right? As opposed to an interstate which cuts straight through. You're playing more on a highway road where it's very, you flow with the land, right? And so the guitar will flow with you if you allow yourself to flow with the guitar. And you'll find your groove and your comfort and how you pick certain things depending on what you're trying to do as you learn more and more. But just to kind of wrap this up as a very important beginner lesson, don't be afraid of holding the guitar in one certain way. There is no one certain way. It entirely depends on what you do. It is dependent on who you are, how you're built, how you've grown playing. It even comes down to smaller factors like how you hold your pick, okay? There's a ton of things that go into this, and I'm basically making this video to just say, don't be afraid, move around, have some fun, figure things out, rotate your guitar, see how it works. Shoot, if you're more comfortable playing in the classical position like this, I mean, be my guest. I've almost never been able to play acoustic like this, at least. Maybe flying V's, but certainly not an acoustic. So, yeah, don't be afraid of moving around a lot. Have some fun, and have a good rest of your day.